Okay, so we got a few things coming from Esquire. You know, the fact that Captain America Brave New World is set to come out in about 2 weeks, around, I think, February 14th on Valentine's Day. It's technically February 13th, but we do have some things about it. So we're going to go through this article. It's actually kind of cool how they did this. Like, you know, it seems like it's fading here. This is cool. I'm not going to lie. I like it. He has been making some little news things that we've been talking about. Said something, didn't go back on it, but then you know what happened. Let's talk about it. There is also something that happened with Chris Evans that I want to talk about. So let's do it. Captain America walks into the bar. It's 3 o'clock on a Tuesday afternoon in December, and the place is empty, save for an older woman and her. I don't want to go through all this, man. Look at this. They really went all out on this one. When Mackie was in high school, he and his buddies would hang around this block, sneaking 50-cent beers. They drink and talk shit. He still comes here 30 years later because Tito, the bartender, doesn't give two fucks about what is this? Wait a minute. What am I reading? Not even the biggest release of his career, Captain America Brave New World, out February 14th, which sees Mackie become the leading man Captain America on the behemoth Marvel Cinematic Universe. Tito just wants to know how he's doing and if he wants a Budweiser. All right. There's a lot of stuff in this article. We're going to have to go through it a little quickly here. That'll get harder to do with the release of Brave New World. In the past decade of Marvel shows and films, Mackie's Sam Wilson character struggled with, but ultimately embraced the mantle of Captain America, inheriting the shield from Chris Evans and Steve Rogers. If the superhero stratosphere has anything resembling a soul-leading actor, it's the one who plays Captain America, that's Mackie now. Brave New World will kick off a critical new chapter of the MCU, which will culminate with 2 new Avengers films, meaning his life, sure as the stars and stripes on his new suit, is about to change. For Mackie, the achievement, top billing in a major studio blockbuster, feels like validation, the credit due for a quarter-century-long career in which he has been unerringly excellent, but never quite broke through to full stardom. By the time he turned 30, he blazed through several films you know by heart, 8 Mile and Papa Doc, and a few other ones. He's worked with legends like Eastwood, Washington, Ford, Lee, played Martin Luther King and Tupac. I remember when he played Tupac. Damn, I forgot about that one. His superpower is not that he's very good at what he does, but he's very good at anything he does, no matter the size of the role. He's so consistent that audiences and awards bodies have taken him for granted. So this is basically talking about his success. This is something I really like to see right here. Now I'm going to go, I think this is kind of the heart of what we want to talk about here. Captain America is my Oscar, he says, because I've been overlooked so many times in my career. I feel an Anthony Mackie story coming. Let's call this one The Time I Couldn't Say My Line in Front of Harrison Ford. Context: Brave New World reintroduces Big Bad Thaddeus Ross, who was originally played by the late William Hurt in several Marvel films from 2008 to 2021. Ford takes over the role as the newly elected president of the United States with some Hulk-like tendencies. Wilson has to meet Ross in a control room so they can shout at each other. It's supposed to go something like this: Wilson, why did this happen? Ross, this is why it happened. End scene. Mackie in a growl. But that was the first fucking scene we shot together, Mackie says, so I'm nervous, and in my head I'm like, this is my moment. When he walked to the control room, his mind failed him. Instead of his lines, all he could muster was a dramatic, ugh. Take 2. Ugh. See, I'm not seeing where exactly the meat of this is. We'll get to this because this is actually not really about Captain America. Well, this is about Captain America. This is not about Anthony Mackie's Captain America. This is more about something with Chris Evans. Brave New World arrives not long after the 10-year anniversary of Mackie's MCU debut. He played Rogers' sidekick in 2014's well-received The Winter Soldier, where he was 6th on the call sheet, and he insisted that he remains number 6 ever since. Even though he was technically number 1, we started the call sheet at 6 and went from there, says Julius Ona, the director of Brave New World. It tells you a tremendous amount about the guy, the fact that he's ascended to these heights and there's still this authentic core to him. Anthony Russo, who has directed Mackie in 4 Marvel outings and will helm the 2 upcoming Avengers movies alongside his brother, directing partner Joe, confirms that number 6 is very much a thing on a Mackie-occupied Marvel set. Every day he would walk on set in his booming theatrical voice and announce number 6 on set, and everyone would break into a smile. He remembers adding, he has an energy to him that just lights up the set in a way that is extremely rare. I don't know if I've ever seen it to the degree that Anthony is capable of. So really just to stop right here, he seems like such a bright light on set for people. You know, he's always bringing smiles. You know, it seems like he's always cracking jokes. He's making people comfortable in where they are. He embraces who he is. I like that. A little further down, here's where we get to the core of these things. Mackie, of course, is hardly the first celebrity who has found himself on the wrong end of a relationship with a superhero fan, but Captain America represents perfection. The MCU's first Captain America, Evans, Steve Rogers, Chris Evans, came of age between World Wars and smacked Nazis around. In Endgame, he gave the mantle to Sam Wilson, a man from the present day with no superpowers. Now Wilson bears the stars and stripes of a country that grows more fractured by the literal hour. I asked Chris Evans about the weight of the shield. It's a two-way street. There's responsibility that comes with it, but also a lot of pride, Evans says about the role. It feels like a lot, but then the pressure's morphed into honor. And this is where we're kind of getting to what we want to talk about here. About 5-6 minutes into the video, a little further down. While we settled up, I bring up the news that dropped 2 hours after we parted ways in New York. Deadline reported that Chris Evans would return to the MCU in Avengers Doomsday. The timing was so uncanny that I wonder aloud if Mackie was holding out on me. I didn't know, he says, laughing. I talked to Chris a few weeks ago and it wasn't on the table then. At least he didn't tell me it was on the table because I asked him. I was like, they said they're bringing everybody back for the movie. Are you coming back? Mackie deploys a delicious Chris Evans impressions that make the actor sound like he was midway through a mojito somewhere in Turks and Caicos where he calls, I'm happily retired. Mackie is adamant. I learned that right there. My manager showed me. He's like, I guess Chris is coming back. That's all I know. I haven't seen a script. For what it's worth, I told Evans and Mackie that I had a laugh about their call and timing on the reports claiming Evans is returning to the MCU, and Evan was quick to contradict Deadline. That's not true, though. He says, this always happens. I mean, it happens every couple years, ever since Endgame. I've just stopped responding to it. Soon, I get the same party line that Evans shared with Mackie. Yeah, no, happily retired. Since Marvel's hasn't offered much info at all regarding the upcoming Avengers movies, Doomsday and Secret Wars, Mackie and I ask each other the question on the mind of just about every Marvel loyalist. How will the studio outdo Endgame? What you don't want is Infinity War and Endgame 2.0, he says, speaking of the directors. He adds, the Russos, they're so smart, and they have such a hold on this universe. When I talked to Anthony Russo, it was clear that he does indeed have an idea, at least as far as Mackie's Captain America is concerned. He represents a unique space in the Avengers spectrum, he says, and that's the greatest thing, because sooner or later, the collective storytelling is going to be in the space that occupies. Okay, so let's talk about this now. Chris Evans saying, happily retired. This happens all the time since Endgame. He's just stopped responding to it. Brother, you are not happily retired, my brother. You were just in Deadpool and Wolverine as the Human Torch, literally in July, so like 6 months ago. My brother in Christ, you are not retired. But then I'm saying this and I'm like, maybe he means he's retired from Captain America, because technically, the reports came out, and I don't know if it was from Deadline, if it was from Jeff Snyder, if it was from My Time to Shine Hello, all these leakers, that he wasn't actually supposed to be playing Captain America, but instead the character Nomad, which is kind of a different version of Steve Rogers, we've kind of seen Nomad in Infinity War. I don't know exactly everything about this character, but to me, he seems like more of a bad Captain America, bad person, which has a lot of people thinking, and we've theorized on the channel that all the original 6 Avengers will be playing bad versions of themselves. So Chris Evans will be playing Nomad. As we know, Robert Downey Jr. is going to come back as Dr. Doom rather than Iron Man. And then we have Hulk will be Maestro, and then so on and so forth. Maybe Thor will be like a Loki variant or something. We went through this. I don't know what he means by that. Again, this could be interesting. This always happens. I mean, it happens every couple years. Ever since Endgame, I've just stopped responding to this. As soon as I get some party line that Evans shared with Mackie, happily retired. You are not retired, my brother. You are coming back. It's common for these guys, these actors and actresses to say, I'm not coming back. I'm not in Marvel anymore, because we've seen it from time to time again. The biggest case being Andrew Garfield. I'm not the werewolf. Come on, man. You were the werewolf. You were in Avengers. You were in Spider-Man No Way Home. And now we even have this going on with Doctor Strange, who said he wasn't in Avengers Doomsday, and now he is in Avengers Doomsday. We have the report that Captain Carter is in this. It's just a common thing that these actors and actresses do, that they do not think they're in the movie, they're not in the movie, then all of a sudden they appear in the movie. You can't really take what they say for fact, and it's not because they're just being asses or anything. They signed the NDAs, they don't want to spoil anything, which is fine, but he does say he's not in it. Let me know what you think of this down below. I think he's pretty much, I think even when Endgame ended and then we got the first movie, we were like, okay, these guys are coming back in some way when they do another Avengers level type of thing. It's just when, it's just if, it's just not if, it's just when, where, how. Let me know what you think of this down below.